Season 1 of Daredevil introduces Matt Murdock, who as a young boy was blinded by hazardous chemicals while saving an elderly man from being run over in the streets. After his father's death, the young Matt was sent to live in an orphanage before being taken in by an older man named Stick, a martial arts master of an ancient organization Chased. Stick trained Matt to become an expert fighter, as the boy's lack of vision heightened his other senses to superhuman levels. Stick hoped that Matt could join his fight against the villainous Hand organization, but upon realizing the boy's continued innocence and sense of moral justice, he abruptly abandoned him. In the present, Matt's conflicting ideals have led him to creating a dual life, where by day he works as a criminal defense lawyer in Hell's Kitchen at a newly formed law firm with his college roommate Foggy Nelson, and at night he fights crime as a black-masked vigilante. The newly established Nelson and Murdock law firm receives their first client in Karen Page, a secretary for Union Allied who has been framed for murdering her colleague Daniel, after discovering the company's money laundering schemes are only the tip of the iceberg in a larger criminal organization. When the crime syndicate sends hitmen to kill Karen, Matt suits up as his vigilante alter ego to save her. Matt then takes Karen's evidence of corruption to journalist Ben Urich, who publicly exposes Union Allied's illegal actions. In the end, Karen decides to work for Matt and Foggy as their new secretary. Union Allied is actually just a front for the illegal operations of the criminal kingpin Wilson Fisk. Fisk grew up with a loving mother Marlene, but abusive father Bill. During the frequent times where his father abused his mother, the young Wilson was forced to stare at a blank wall. Bill often encouraged the young Wilson to violently stand up against his bullies, even forcing him into brutally beating up another child. As Bill continued to abuse his wife, the young Wilson finally stood up for his mother and murdered his father. As Wilson Fisk grew up to be one of the most powerful men in New York, he took on the moniker Kingpin and utilized his father's brutal lessons to assert his control on the city. Now, following a massive superhero battle between the Avengers and the alien Chitauri that left much of New York City destroyed, Wilson Fisk's crime syndicate takes over Hell's Kitchen under the guise of rebuilding it with his shell company Union Allied Construction. But really, it's all just a front for drug dealing, gun smuggling, and taking over properties for himself. Fisk's gang has forged an alliance with fellow criminal organizations like the Russian Mafia, alongside the Chinese Triad and Japanese Yakuza, whose leaders are members of Hand. Serving alongside Fisk is his right-hand man James Wesley and his loyal accountant Leland Owlsley. Amidst his ascent to power, Fisk meets and falls in love with the art curator Vanessa Marianna, who sells him a piece known as Rabbit in a Snowstorm that reminds him of his childhood, staring at a blank wall to block out his father's abuse. Fisk and his criminal allies all have a mutual disdain for the new masked vigilante that is interrupting their criminal ventures. And so the Russian Mafia kidnap a young boy to lure the vigilante into a trap. Despite his expert fighting skills, the secret alter ego of Matt Murdock is severely outnumbered and brutally beaten to near death. Matt is saved by the nurse Claire Temple, who discovers his secret identity and helps him recover enough to continue his fight. Ultimately, Matt is able to single-handedly take down the Russian Mafia members guarding the boy, saving the innocent child's life. As Matt's vigilanteism continues to disrupt the Russian Mafia's business, one of its leaders, Anatoly Ranskahov, tries to cut a new deal with Fisk to make up for his lessened profits. But this unprompted meeting ruins Fisk's date with Vanessa, prompting the Kingpin to murder Anatoly and send his head to his brother Vladimir, claiming the masked vigilante was responsible. As Vladimir plots his revenge against the mysterious man in black, Fisk secretly plots to rid himself of the Russian Mafia entirely. Working with Chinese Triad and Hand leader Madame Gao, Fisk lures Vlad and his men into a building, then blows it up. Vlad manages to survive the blast and is captured by Matt, who questions him for information on Wilson Fisk. As Fisk sends a team of corrupt cops to kill both the antagonistic vigilante and the Russian crime boss, Vlad realizes that Fisk had framed Matt, and knowing that the vigilante could avenge his brother, sacrifices himself to allow Matt to escape. Matt then reunites with his old old mentor Stick, who seeks his help in taking down Nobu Yashioka, a Yakuza leader and member of the Hand who plots to bring a mysterious weapon known as Black Sky to New York. When Matt and Stick find Black Sky, they discover the supposed weapon is actually just a young boy. Despite Matt's resistance, Stick murders the child to prevent the Hand from using him for their mysterious purposes. This drives a wedge between the mentor and protege once again, leading to the two fighting. After Matt defeats Stick, the elder mentor is exiled from the city. Meanwhile, Matt, Foggy, and Karen continue working with Urich in the hopes of exposing Fisk's villainy. But as they compile evidence to expose the Kingpin's corruption, Fisk publicly declares his intentions to reform and rebuild Hell's Kitchen, inspiring the public's support for him. Karen and Urich manage to find Fisk's mother, who confesses that her son had murdered his own father. Fearing that this revelation could be used against him, Fisk sends his right-hand man Wesley to confront Karen. Instead, Karen gets the upper hand and shoots Wesley dead. Fisk is devastated by this, but moves forward with hosting a charity gala to benefit the city and further embolden the public support. Unfortunately, several guests at the gala, including his beloved Vanessa, are poisoned by a mystery assailant. Fisk is enraged by this act and helps nurse Vanessa back to health, all while swearing vengeance on whoever is responsible. With the masked vigilante continuing to interfere with his criminal ventures, Fisk strikes a deal with Nobu to kill their common enemy, in exchange for territory in Hell's Kitchen. Matt and Nobu engage in a brutal fight to the death, leaving Nobu dead and Matt critically injured. And that's when the blind lawyer is confronted by Fisk, who beats him to near death. Matt manages to escape Fisk, his life and secret identity barely intact, and is found by his friend Foggy, who finally discovers that Matt is in fact the infamous masked vigilante. Foggy is furious that Matt has been lying to him and chooses to abandon their shared law firm. Matt is then patched up once again by Claire, who encourages him to wear protection if he is going to continue serving as a crime-fighting hero. And so, Matt tracks down Melvin Potter, an engineer who has previously crafted armored clothing for Fisk, and convinces him to craft a unique set of armor for his vigilante alter ego. Matt then turns his attention to taking down Madame Gao and her Chinese triad, destroying her heroin operation and forcing the Hand leader to flee the city. With Gao and the Chinese triad and Nobu and the Japanese Yakuza now gone, Fisk's allies are dwindling, and so Urich finally feels emboldened enough to release all of the incriminating evidence he has obtained against the criminal Kingpin. Further enraged by this act, Fisk confronts Urich and murders him. As the season comes to a close, Fisk discovers that Gao and Owlsley had conspired together to poison Vanessa, viewing her as a distraction to Kingpin's criminal expansion. And so, a vengeful Fisk murders Owlsley. The death of Urich inspires Matt and Foggy to reconcile their friendship and partnership, determined to bring down Wilson Fisk once and for all. Thanks to their renewed efforts, Matt secures enough evidence to call for Fisk's arrest. Unfortunately, corrupt officers on Fisk's payroll intervene to help him escape. In the end, Matt Murdock dons his newly crafted armored suit to confront Kingpin for a final time, ultimately defeating him and ensuring Fisk is sent to prison. With Kingpin finally behind bars, his lover Vanessa flees Hell's Kitchen, Matt celebrates his victory with Foggy and Karen, and the city hails its vigilante hero, whom they officially dubbed Daredevil. I want to cut in real quick and tell you about this video's sponsor, HelloFresh. HelloFresh is America's #1 meal kit that delivers step-by-step recipes and fresh, pre-portioned ingredients right to your door. You just go to their website to sign up for your subscription plan, where you get to choose from over 50 delicious recipes put together by their expert chefs. Ask anyone, especially my wife, and they'll tell you that I am not a chef. I barely know how to microwave leftovers or boil water, but HelloFresh helps me feel like an actual chef, just like the ones I watch on TV. I just made a beef bolognese dish from scratch in only 15 minutes. The pre-portioned high-quality ingredients meant I didn't need to go to the store and buy way too much food that would inevitably go to waste. The recipe was really easy to follow, even for someone as cooking averse as me, and in the end, I plated a beautiful dish that tasted even better than it looked. HelloFresh offers a variety of meal options to fit your dietary needs, whether you're a carnivore, vegetarian, calorie counter, and more. They've also got ready-made make meals that you can pop in the microwave, and in less than 3 minutes, you could be eating an amazing gourmet dish like this Alfredo truffle cavatappi. So sign up for HelloFresh today. Click the link in the description or use my code CHILLFEB10 to get 10 free meals plus free breakfast for life. I've been eating their sous vide egg bites to start my day, and these things are incredible. So thanks again to HelloFresh, and thanks to you for watching. Your support means I can continue bringing you the content you love. So to help me continue making these videos and help you get some incredible meals, use my link in the description or use code CHILLFEB10 to subscribe to HelloFresh. Thanks again to HelloFresh and you. Now let's get back to the recap. In Season 2 of Daredevil, with Wilson Fisk in prison and his criminal allies defeated or fled, the Irish mob move in to try to claim Hell's Kitchen for themselves. Unfortunately, they are all gunned down by a one-man army known only as the Punisher. The lone survivor, Grotto, seeks the help of the Nelson and Murdock law firm for protection. Matt Murdock investigates similar occurrences with other criminal organizations in the city, like the Dogs of Hell biker gang, who were all attacked by the mysterious Punisher. While trying to secure Grotto's safety and witness protection, Matt and Foggy strike a deal with District Attorney Samantha Reyes. Unbeknownst to the friends, the DA instead uses Grotto to lure the Punisher into a trap. The Punisher anticipates this and captures Daredevil amidst the chaos. The two men then argue over their differing ideals, with the Punisher believing that his criminal targets all deserve to die, while Matt argues that no person is beyond redemption. To further his own point, the Punisher kills Grotto in front of a helpless Matt before fleeing. As more members of the Irish mob arrive in New York City to enact revenge against the Punisher, Daredevil steps in to help the vigilante on the condition that he stops his murderous rampage. After escaping to safety, an injured Punisher reveals himself to be Frank Castle, a former Marine whose family was killed during a shootout between the Irish mob and the Dogs of Hell. Castle has been on a revenge mission ever since, and blames DA Reyes for covering up the entire tragic incident. Castle then peacefully surrenders and allows himself to be arrested by Police Sergeant Brett Mahoney, who in turn allows Daredevil to walk away, recognizing the differences between his and the Punisher's crime-fighting philosophies. Matt celebrates his victory with Karen, who has developed romantic feelings for her boss, but as Matt arrives at his apartment, he is confronted by his former lover, Elektra Natchios. 10 years earlier, Matt had met Elektra, a fellow protege of Stick who shared similar passions and skills. As the pair developed a romance, Elektra tried to sway Matt into more ruthless acts, like attempting to manipulate him into killing the man who murdered his father. Matt stops himself from committing such a heinous act, resulting in Elektra abandoning him. Now Elektra asks her former lover to join her in a mission to take out the newly returned Hand, who have infiltrated the powerful Roxxon Corporation. Fearing that the Yakuza are plotting something dangerous and harmful to the city, Matt agrees to work with Elektra on the condition she not kill anyone and not interfere with his burgeoning relationship with Karen. As Frank Castle is tried in court, DA Reyes attempts to have the death penalty brought against him. Matt and Foggy take on Castle as a client and mount a legal defense to save his life. Wanting to help Matt, Elektra tortures a witness who previously gave a false testimony into confessing the truth about covering up details of the deaths of Castle's family. Despite this aiding in Castle's defense, Foggy is furious that Matt's ex has illegally interfered with the case, jeopardizing their careers. And to make matters worse, Foggy discovers that Matt and Karen have secretly begun dating behind his back. Despite the excellent and convincing legal efforts of Matt and Foggy, Castle purposefully tanks his own chances on the witness stand, declaring his unrepentant love of killing, resulting in him being sentenced to prison. With the case now closed and behind them, a betrayed Foggy chooses to end his partnership with Matt and instead take a job working for the powerful lawyer Jerry Hogarth. In prison, Frank Castle meets none other than Wilson Fisk. Castle asks for Fisk's help in identifying one of the men responsible for organizing the drug meeting that inadvertently led to his family's deaths. That man is Dutton, the de facto kingpin of the prisoners at Rikers Island. Before killing him, Castle learns from Dutton that he had attempted to broker a drug deal with several New York City gangs, but they were betrayed by the dealer the Blacksmith as part of a sting operation masterminded by DA Reyes. After Castle kills Dutton, Fisk assumes the role of kingpin of the prison and calls for Frank's death. Castle slaughters all of the men out to get him, impressing Fisk and leading to the two forging an uneasy truce. Realizing Castle is the muscle he needs to retain his dominance in Hell's Kitchen, Fisk helps the Punisher escape prison. Meanwhile, as Matt and Elektra continue their investigation into Hand's new reemergence, Stick returns to join the fight. Matt refuses to work with his volatile and murderous mentor, and Elektra agrees to similarly cast aside Stick. But when Matt is attacked and poisoned by a teenage member of Hand, Elektra murders the boy, much to Matt's dismay. While investigating a Hand facility, Matt discovers that the Hand is using the Roxxon Corporation to harvest the blood of children for an unknown purpose. With Sergeant Mahoney's help, Matt rescues the children and takes them to the hospital to be cared for by Claire Temple. As the Hand arrives to reclaim them, Daredevil fights off the attacking ninjas. But unfortunately, the brainwashed children ultimately decide to leave with their captors. Claire is furious when the hospital covers up this event and chooses to quit to move to Harlem. As Karen continues investigating Frank Castle's history, Reyes finally confesses to Matt, Karen, and Foggy that her failures during the sting operation between Dutton Blacksmith and the other gangs led to the deaths of not only Castle's family, but also an undercover cop. And now Reyes believes that Castle is seeking vengeance against her by going after her daughter. And that's when a mystery shooter attacks the group, killing Reyes and injuring Foggy. When Karen is later attacked at her apartment by the mystery shooter, Castle arrives to save her, confirming that he is not the killer. Both Matt and Castle independently search for the mysterious blacksmith, leading to a team-up of Daredevil and the Punisher. As the blacksmith's men attack the pair, Castle saves Matt's life and seemingly dies in an explosion. With the world thinking Frank Castle is dead, Karen decides to write a profile on the former Marine to show the world what the Punisher truly stood for. While interviewing Castle's former Marine commander Ray Schoonover, Karen discovers that he is in fact the blacksmith who killed Reyes to prevent her from revealing his true identity. Blacksmith then kidnaps Karen, but Castle arrives, revealing he faked his death, saving Karen's life, and brutally enacting his revenge against the man responsible for his family's deaths. Elsewhere, Stick returns and confronts Elektra, now wanting her dead for his own mystery reasons. Matt arrives to break up the fight, but the Hand intervenes and kidnaps Stick. Matt teams up with Elektra to find Stick, where they are confronted by Nobu, who has somehow been resurrected from his death at the hands of Daredevil. Nobu explains that Elektra is in fact the new Black Sky, a prophesied leader of the Hand organization, and thus the reluctant Stick's new target. Matt convinces Elektra to disavow the Hand and choose her own destiny, leading to the assassin forgiving Stick and freeing him from his captors. As the season comes to a close, the Hand kidnap Karen to draw Daredevil into a trap to kill him. Matt teams up with Elektra to defeat the Hand, but first they profess their continued love for each other. In their brutal battle against an army of Hand ninjas, Matt and Elektra are aided by Frank Castle. As Nobu attempts to kill Matt, Elektra sacrifices herself to save him, dying in her lover's arms as the hero he always knew she could be. Matt and Castle finish off the rest of the Hand ninjas, and Stick arrives to kill Nobu once again. In the end, Stick acknowledges to Matt that he made a mistake trying to remove all of the emotional connections from his life. Castle chooses to continue using the Punisher mantle to help those in need, and Matt finally reveals to Karen that he is in fact Daredevil. But unbeknownst to them all, the Hand recover Elektra's body and place it in an ancient sarcophagus, resurrecting her from the dead. The story continues in The Defenders, which introduces Alexandra Reed, the immortal leader of the Hand. Alexandra chose to use the last of her resurrection elixir, mixed with the blood collected at Roxxon, to resurrect Elektra, believing that Black Sky's survival was more essential than her own. Elektra wakes up with no memories of her past life, and Alexandra trains her into becoming a ruthless assassin. When Alexandra discovers that her ancient body is shutting down and she only has mere weeks to live, she desperately tasks the Hand to dig beneath New York City in search of dragon bones to create a new resurrection elixir. That digging is stopped by a mystical barrier that is seemingly impenetrable. To discover the means to bring down this barrier, Alexandra kidnaps and tortures Stick, who then cuts off his own hand to escape his binds and flee. To bring down Hand once and for all, Matt Murdock teams up with fellow vigilante heroes Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and Danny Rand. Stick reunites with the group and tells them of the ancient benevolent people of Kunlun, who centuries ago studied the healing powers of Qi. But when 5 of those members wanted to use that power to selfishly live forever, they were cast out. Those 5, including Madame Gao, Bakudo, Murakami, Sawande, and Alexandra Reed, have sought for centuries to find the prophesied Black Sky to return to Kunlun and take it over for themselves, achieving perfect immortality. To break open the barrier and retrieve the dragon bones, the hand needs the power of the Iron Fist, which the elders of Kunlun have bestowed upon Danny Rand. While fighting the hand, Matt encounters Elektra, and though she doesn't fully remember him, she does thwart Murakami from killing him. Meanwhile, Stick kills Sawande while Murakami grows concerned that Alexandra has grown too selfish and reckless in her pursuits. Thinking the only guaranteed way to stop the hand is to kill Danny, and therefore the Iron Fist, Stick mercilessly attacks his ally. Matt and the others intervene to save Danny's life, but Elektra then interrupts them all, killing Stick and taking Danny for herself. Alexandra is ecstatic by this success, but is then shockingly killed by Elektra, who assumes control of Hand for herself. As Matt teams up with Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, Claire Temple, and Danny Rand's friend Colleen Wing to save their ally, Elektra forces the Iron Fist to open the barrier, protecting the dragon bones. Madame Gao then orders the hand to extract the power from the bones, which threatens to weaken the foundation of the entire city. The defenders place bombs along the hand's operations, plotting to destroy the area to save New York. As the defenders fight off the hand army to save Danny before the bombs detonate, Matt is forced to come face to face with his resurrected lover Elektra. Amidst the fight, Colleen kills Bakudo and flees with the others to avoid the explosion. Matt chooses to stay behind to be with Elektra, finally helping her regain some of her lost memories. As the bombs explode, Madame Gao, Murakami, and the reconciled lovers Matt and Elektra are all caught in the devastation. In the end, Hand is finally and fully defeated. The surviving defenders reunite with their loved ones and reaffirm their desire to protect their city, while Foggy and Karen mourn the death of their friend. But unbeknownst to them, Matt Murdock has survived and is secretly taken to a church to recover from his injuries. In Season 3 of Daredevil, Matt Murdock is taken by Father Paul Lantom to the orphanage where he grew up. While there, he is nursed back to health by the nun Sister Maggie, who he discovers is in fact his actual mother, who abandoned him at birth. Matt suffers a crisis of faith and believes that he can't return to his normal life and reunite with his friends Foggy and Karen, and instead chooses to live only as Daredevil. The incarcerated Wilson Fisk decides to strike a deal with the FBI, giving them intel on the criminals of Hell's Kitchen in exchange for the protection of his lover Vanessa. Handling the case for the FBI is Agent Ray Nadim, who is financially struggling after paying for his sister-in-law's medical bills. Fisk's intel leads to the arrest of the leaders of an Albanian gang, but after being branded as a snitch, the Kingpin is attacked by many of his fellow prisoners. In turn, Nadim secures Fisk's release from prison to instead serve his time under house arrest. As Fisk is transported out of prison by the FBI, they are attacked by the vengeful surviving Albanians. Though most of the FBI agents are killed, Fisk is saved by Special Agent Benjamin Dex Poindexter, codenamed Bullseye for his near superhuman accuracy. As the last remaining Albanian surrenders, Dex coldly shoots him dead, sparking an interest from Fisk. From his new luxury house arrest penthouse apartment, Fisk helps cover for Dex with his superiors in the FBI, claiming the unarmed Albanian was killed in self-defense. Upon further looking into Dex's history, Fisk realizes that the FBI agent is truly a psychopath and has committed many cold-blooded murders. And despite Dex claiming to have a girlfriend named Julie, Fisk discovers that the woman is actually just an object of desire that Dex obsessively stalks. And so Fisk murders Julie to further break down Dex's mental state and draw him closely into Kingpin's loyalty, viewing the psychopathic FBI agent as the perfect distraction in a plot to ensure his permanent release from prison. Meanwhile, the late DA Reyes's partner Blake Tower is now the new district attorney, and Foggy offers his help to send Fisk back to an actual prison. Matt finally reveals himself to be alive to Foggy, warning him and Karen to stay away from the violent and vengeful Wilson Fisk. But when Tower is reluctant to pursue action against Fisk, Foggy ignores his friend's warnings and takes matters into his own own hands, running against Tower to become the new DA with a campaign promise of personally returning Fisk back behind bars. Matt discovers from the inmate Jasper Evans that Fisk had orchestrated being attacked in prison to ensure his transfer to house arrest. Matt and Karen convince Jasper to testify against Fisk, but unfortunately Fisk sends Dex, impersonating Daredevil, to arrive at Karen's office and publicly murder Jasper. The FBI try to apprehend Dex, but he fights them off and escapes, leaving everyone believing that Daredevil is now a villainous and cold-blooded killer. Matt then dons his own Daredevil suit and confronts Agent Nadim, convincing him that Fisk was behind the plot to frame Daredevil. Nadim believes Matt and begins a secret investigation, eventually discovering that Dex is the imposter Daredevil. Nadim and the real Daredevil investigate Dex's apartment for evidence, but he catches them, injuring Nadim as they escape. When Nadim tells his superiors about Fisk's villainous machinations, his boss, Tammy Hatley, murders her partner and threatens to frame Nadim if he doesn't agree to work for Kingpin. And so, a reluctant Nadim is forced to work for Fisk alongside Dex, threatening local gang leaders to pay protection money to the Kingpin. Karen tries to trick Fisk into confessing to his crimes, declaring that she knows he killed his own father as a child, and even taunts him by confessing her own killing of his loyal right-hand man Wesley. Fisk fails to fall for this plot, and Karen accidentally reveals that Matt Murdock is in fact the Daredevil. Realizing she has put herself in danger, Karen then goes into hiding from Fisk at Father Lantum's church. Dex tracks her down and attempts to kill her, murdering Father Lantum in the process. Just before Dex kills Karen, Matt arrives to save her, resulting in a Daredevil versus Daredevil fight. Fisk's corrupt FBI agents are sent to pursue Matt and Karen, but a guilty Nadim warns the good-intentioned Sergeant Mahoney that Karen will be murdered by Fisk's loyal henchmen if she is caught. And so, Foggy helps ensure that Karen and Matt are rescued by Mahoney and the NYPD, infuriating Fisk, who orders the deaths of Nadim and his family. Matt arrives just in time to save them and reveals himself to be the real Daredevil. Unfortunately, through his plot to frame Daredevil as the true villain of Hell's Kitchen, Wilson Fisk is officially cleared of all charges. Vanessa returns from her exile to reunite with her lover, and the pair plan a wedding. As a gift for his boss, the psychopathic Dex tracks down Fisk's beloved rabbit in a snowstorm painting and kills its current owner to restore it back into the Kingpin's possession. Elsewhere, Foggy comes up with a plan to bring down Fisk once and for all, teaming up with Matt as law partners once again to represent Nadim in court, who will testify against all of Fisk's villainous actions. And to ensure their legal success, Foggy agrees to drop out of the DA race to bring Tower to their side. Unfortunately, Fisk is powerful enough to manipulate the jury and ensure that this plan ultimately fails. Despite Nadim no longer posing a threat, Vanessa embraces her full turn to villainy by convincing Fisk to kill the FBI agent. And so Dex is sent to murder Nadim. With Foggy's legal plan foiled, Matt resigns himself to his only option left to defeat Fisk, killing him. Matt discovers and reveals to Dex that Fisk had killed Julie to further pull him into his loyalty. Matt also is given a video from Nadim's wife, in which the late FBI agent detailed all of Fisk's illegal activities. As Fisk and Vanessa get married, Karen distributes Nadim's video to the public. The wedding ceremony is interrupted by Dex, who seeks vengeance for the death of Julie. Matt arrives to fight alongside Dex in a final battle against Fisk. During the fight, Fisk defeats and paralyzes Dex, while Matt gets the upper hand and defeats the Kingpin. Fisk agrees to return to prison and promises safety to Foggy and Karen if Matt protects Vanessa and never reveals her involvement in Nadim's murder. In the end, Fisk returns to prison, Dex undergoes experimental surgery to fix his spine, and Matt reunites with Karen and Foggy, who happily suggest they all go into business together once again. Oh, and here's a little post-credit scene recap for everything Daredevil and Kingpin got up to after the original series. As a crime-fighting vigilante, Matt met and slept with fellow crime-fighting lawyer Jennifer Walters, aka She-Hulk. And as a lawyer, he represented Spider-Man himself, aka Peter Parker, although his memory of that was erased by a spell from Doctor Strange. Meanwhile, after several years in prison, Fisk was released and tasked the depressed Hawkeye, now going under the vigilante name Ronin, to kill the leaders of the powerful Tracksuit Mafia so he could take over as leader in their place. Fisk then took in Maya Lopez, the unaware daughter of one of the Tracksuit Mafia's leaders, and mentored her as a surrogate niece. When Maya discovered Fisk's lies and involvement in her father's death, she teamed up with Hawkeye and his protege Kate Bishop to defeat him. Fisk tried desperately to win back Maya's favor, but to no avail, and instead turned his attention to running for mayor of New York City.